Hey, everybody, and welcome to Ben and Nate's Questions That We Ask People on the Internet. I am one half of your host, Nate Fay. And hey, I'm a massage therapist. I'm an osteopath. And when I'm not in my practice up here in Enfield, Connecticut, I'm on the road teaching for Eric Dalton in the Freedom from Pain Institute.
And hey, my name is Ben Stone. I'm also a massage therapist. I hail from Lincoln, Nebraska, and I do some cool things. Not as cool as Nate, but one of the coolest things I do is I get to talk to Nate on this show that we've been calling Ben and Nate's Questions That We Ask People on the Internet. How does this show work? Give me a quick rundown of how this show works, Nate.
Here's the deal. Every week or so, you're going to see a question pop up on our Facebook page, Ben and Nate's Questions That We Ask People on the Internet. You're also going to see it on our personal pages if you're friends there. And here's what we want you to do. We want you to give a thoughtful, thorough response to that question. And then when Ben and I get together on Tuesday nights and record, we check out your responses. We pick some of our favorite ones and read them off. And then we have discussions about them and we give our thoughts on this as well. And it's all related to the massage industry.
Perfect explanation, Nate. I love it. So we love to hear when you guys are listening to the show, because some of you have reached out to us and said, hey, I love to listen to Ben and Nate's Questions on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and we also have some YouTube videos and podcasts going up. So check us out wherever you like to listen to podcasts, because we might be there, we might not. But let's get into Nate. I want to ask you, how's your week been? You know, because we kind of skipped that last time. We didn't talk about how we've been. So I want to get back into that a little bit. What's gone well in your week?
The kids went back to school today, so that was good in my day. Man, I had the top and the doors off my Jeep, and the kids jumped out of the car, and I cranked up as loud as I could. This is true. Celebration by Kool and the Gang. And I was driving off the lot, pumping my fist. It got a few smiles. So that was fun. So it was a good weekend, good Labor Day. I did not labor. I had a very rare sit on my couch and loaf weekend. So it was good, but I smoked because you and I, by the way, to our listeners, Ben and I, also, not only do we share this common bond in the massage world and all things massage like, we also share a bond in the world of meat, smoking meat. So I did my first rack of ribs on my smoker this weekend.
That was your first.
Yeah, that was my first.
Nice.
And I'm getting there. I'm still the timing of this stuff. I'm still learning timing. So I went probably maybe a little too long, but they still had like a nice flavor to them. Just a little bit too long where they didn't have that fall off the bone kind of texture that I personally like.
You know, what's the most important part of a joke? Timing.
That's right, timing.
But if you've ever listened to Alton Brown, he has a great way for timing ribs. I don't know. Are you familiar with Alton Brown?
No, I'll have to check him out.
Oh, he's been on the Food Network. He's a chef. Anyway, we'll talk about that after the show.
What about you, buddy? What's happening in your world?
Oh man, I recently had a birthday, and for those of you watching on YouTube, I have a brand new chair, compliments of my wife,
Mrs. Stone.
Yes, she knows me so well. She also did this thing where she asked me what my favorite photograph that I've taken recently was, and I said, I kind of like this one. Well, she snuck it away from me, and she had it printed on a metal print. Like it's kind of like license plate aluminum metal, but it's really shiny. It's super cool.
That sounds cool. You should put a picture of that up on our.
I will put a picture of it right here if you're watching on YouTube. It's really cool. I really appreciate her doing that. She knows me so well.
Well, happy birthday, brother.
Hey, thanks.
And what are your, I like to set, I'm not like one of these New Year's peoples, but around my birthday, I like to set maybe some goals for my year. Did you set any goals for your next year on this crazy planet?
I wouldn't say, because you set a goal and then you beat yourself up when you don't achieve it. So
True.
I have aspirations, and I've got a couple things that I'm gonna do in the photography realm. I'm gonna take some of my pictures and make a calendar out of it. So if I get at least that, I'm doing well.
I love it. Awesome, man. Well, congratulations on a most successful days waking up,
Yes,
right? Something
most
like that.
consecutive days
Most
of waking
consecutive,
up.
most
Yeah,
consecutive days of waking up.
because your birthday wasn't that long ago either, was it?
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, we have a topic that we're going to discuss today. And before we get into that topic, I want to lead us in with a joke. This one pertains to our topic today. So, what is the best present you can gift someone?
Ben, what is the best present that I can give someone?
A broken drum, because nobody can beat that.
Shout out to our good friend, Mr. Eric Dalton, our drummer. Yes,
See what I
sir.
did there? A little bit of
Yeah.
music, a little bit of so yeah, getting into our topic. What is our topic?
Gifts.
Gifts. Yeah, let me read it off here. Our question of the week reads, "Do you accept gifts from clients, and what are your reasons for or against accepting gifts?" And usually I like to ask you what the reason behind asking this question was, but you didn't ask this question. We got this question from a viewer, a listener.
We sure
And
did.
so if you guys share your questions, we're going to talk about them. And so this was one of those that got shared to us. And hey, we want to talk about it.
I definitely want to talk about this one. So my first question to you, we got a lot of responses, by the way. This generated some quite a bit of interest.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was pretty excited to see all the amazing responses. So thank you for taking the time on that. So my
Yes.
first question is, in the massage world, I was wondering your thoughts on do tips tie into this? Is tipping a gift, or do you look at that as a separate thing from a gift? Just so we can sort out the playing field here tonight.
Yeah. How do we want to define that? Because it is, in some senses, a gift. But if
Sure
it's,
is.
if it's consistent, then is it a gift or is it just some, I think if the consistent part might help us define it.
Hmm. Yeah, because people aren't bringing you a present every session.
Yeah, it's not unique. It's not a specific one time. So maybe
Yeah.
we should define a gift as something that's out of the ordinary.
Hmm. I like that. I like that. And I don't get, by the way, I don't want to make this all about tips. So I don't get tips in my practice. And once, so yeah, once in a while, when a client gives me a lot of extra money, I look at that as a gift because, like you said, it's rare, it's not expected, it's not something they do all the time. But anyway, Ben, how about this? Have you gotten gifts in your career?
I have gotten gifts in my career. How about you, Nate? Have you received gifts in your career?
Definitely have. Yeah, I definitely have. And interestingly enough, I was thinking about this question. And interestingly enough, when I was renting space in the first part of my career, I never got gifts. But then when I moved to my own practice and went into private practice, that over the last 10 years now, that's when I began to get gifts. And it started around Christmas. I remember the first Christmas in my practice. And it was awesome, man. I just kept coming out of sessions and it was like I have a separate office and I kept coming out. And like every time I would come out, there would be like boxes of stuff, whether it was like cookies or food or like nice gift cards that clients were just walking in that didn't have an appointment and like leaving stuff. And I was like, who died? That was my first thought, man. Who died? And so that was like pretty wild because none of that was expected. And it was like, whoa, I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. And some of the gifts were just from a monetary standpoint were mind blowing. And then some of them were just like these beautiful homemade gifts, right? Maybe just like nice cards or maybe like a nice piece of artwork or something like that, or homemade cookies or something along those lines, which, all those things are equally, if not sometimes more special than those big monetary gifts, right?
Yeah, when there's thought put behind it. So I remember just recently this last Christmas, I had a customer. She gifted me a box of laundry detergent. I'm like, that's perfect.
That is yeah, honestly, man, that's like totally perfect.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've had clients give me like little gift bags of like snacks, and man, as like a massage therapist that pounds through my day, like those little extra snacks to keep in my office are like huge.
When would be a good time to not accept gifts? I mean, maybe we should dive into um, other types of gifts that clients may give you. So we have money and we have, objects and things, but what about if they want to gift you, like I've had times where people say they want to take me out to dinner or something, or they want to,
Hmm.
um, spend time with you, which I don't know if that's considered a gift or not, but I don't
I,
know. What are your thoughts?
yeah, I would put that into a subcategory, and I've had that experience too, where clients have wanted to take me out to dinner, or hey, like we'd love to have you over our house for a dinner, which I consider a gift, right? They're making a meal, they're doing something along those lines. I trying to think over the years, I have done that before. Some clients that have been seeing me forever. And I have taken them up on that. But it's been rare enough, like a one-off kind of thing, that I never felt it as anything more than that, right? I've taken that almost as a gift of, man, like I must have done something special for them throughout their life that they think enough of me to want to, invite me into their home or invite me to a restaurant and put on like a nice meal for me. And again, it's been a one-off, so it's never been like, hey, you want to come over again this week? And how about
Yeah.
next week? How about every third? It's never gotten weird. Nobody's ever made anything weird.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever had the thought or the idea to ask the person that does your hair, what do they call those people? Hairstylists?
Yeah. Well, I have a barber, so
Barber,
sure.
okay, barber. Have you ever wanted to take your barber out for a cup of coffee or dinner or something like that?
Yeah, funny thing. I mean, my barber, by the way, my barber also shares a parking lot with me. It's
Nice.
like the most convenient thing ever. 20 minutes in between clients, I could walk over and have them, you know, shave me up. So interestingly enough, the guy that's been cutting my hair has been cutting my hair since I was 12. So I've known
Nice.
this guy now for, it's got to do the math, a long time, like super long time. And I never have, but I would totally hang out with him. Absolutely. I would not hang out with him, but we're buddies. We go over there. I mean, I've known this guy for a million years, and we both share like for music. So if something ever came around, he wouldn't be my first thought. He probably wouldn't be my third thought. But yeah, I'd probably be like, hey, Al, you want to go see this band with me sometime? I probably would do that. But that's also, right, that's been a long-term 30 plus year relationship.
Yeah. I was just, thinking in my head, when would I ask someone who provides a service for me to, do something like that? So it is definitely rare, and you and I have both experienced it. Um, I've taken somebody up on it one time, but it was it was not something I wanted to do again. So I
Yeah.
just, I politely decline when that happens.
And I think that's okay too. And again, I think if it's like a one-off, like here and there, I have two families, if you will. They're very like large families. I think there's like 60 of them just in my area alone. And I probably work on about 70% of their family. It's like crazy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like my weekly schedules are almost all filled with like the same last name.
Nice.
And I've been working with most of them for over 10 years now. I mean, I've seen some of them like, you know, through their pregnancies and now their kids are like 10, 11, 12. It's like crazy, right? Of course, and I always make the joke, right? I actually say to them, like, hey, I'm just waiting for my invite to Thanksgiving dinner, right? I don't mean that. Of course, I don't mean that. And, you know, and probably if the day ever came, in that case, I might politely decline, you know.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing, right? So I think in my case, because then there's the other side of the coin of, has anything ever gone too far? You know, I can't think of one situation personally where I ever felt like, man, that's like a little weird. You know, anyone ever weird you out? Anyone ever take it too far with a gift?
No, not that I can recall. I've
Yeah.
gotten some cool gifts over the years, but most of them are pretty benign. Like I've gotten a T-shirt before. I've got, usually it's money, and I think what we've been defining are reasons why we would accept gifts from somebody.
Yeah.
If it's a one-off, if it's monetary, it's that kind of thing. So the second part of this question is why wouldn't you accept a gift from somebody? What are some of the things, maybe, I don't know, could we call them red flags or yellow flags that we would maybe steer clear? And, one of the things that I can think of is if you accept a gift from somebody or also get into a business relationship with them, whereas say they sell used cars and you buy a used car from them and then that car falls apart on you. Now you have this client that you're like, and that's probably topic for another podcast, but I don't know. It kind of falls into this a little bit.
Yeah, I think it does fall into this completely. And man, if there's something I learned a long time ago, and this was a lesson I learned from this chiropractor I worked with, I would see him do the what we're talking about and then some, like really get involved with clients, like all of a sudden like inviting people over to dinner. And there was always these events with clients coming over. And I was a young therapist. So for me, I was like, oh man, is this like normal? You know what I mean? And then I would see like a lot of those relationships, just standing from the sidelines kind of go sour, especially when I would see him do business with business, right? Mixed business with business. So when I opened up my own practice a long time ago, that was like a clear boundary. And we talked about boundaries and rules and protocols on our last episode. But man, that's a clear boundary for me that I don't mix business with business. I have a farmer that comes and sees me, and he's such a great guy. Again, longtime client, so awesome. And he always wants to bring me duck eggs and duck meat and all this other stuff. And every time he comes in and he brings me stuff, I say, how much do I owe you? And he doesn't do it to get money out of me because he knows that I love it. But I always say to him, and he says, no, you don't. And I said, no, I always insist on paying him.
That's a perfect way to do it.
Yeah, and there's a gift. That would be a gift situation that probably, now that I'm thinking about it, that I kiboshed from the start. And I was very upfront with him, like, dude, you're awesome, but I'm gonna pay you every time. Because, what if one day, right, I rub him the wrong way, or something else happens, man. I don't like that stuff to fall apart and get hinky.
Strings, it leaves strings attached and
Yeah,
it can get messy and
can get so
nobody
messy.
likes to leave things messy. And so I love exactly what you said. Hey, let me pay you for the stuff. That way
Yeah,
we are even, Steven. There's no expectations of, oh, hey, I gave you these duck eggs. So do you think you can get my wife in? Yeah,
right.
there's
I
no
don't.
expectation beyond, hey, I paid you for this. We're square.
Yeah, I don't like any of that stuff. And a long time ago, I was in a networking group, and it was almost expected that you did business with the other people in the group. And again, things always just never seem to be clear. And I hated that. I hated those blurry lines.
Yeah, I think that's common for networking groups is they encourage you to do business, but you know, it's got to be business. It can't be bartering. It can't be, I'll do you this favor if you do me this favor. It's got to be straight up money.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen massage therapists who do trades. Oh, let's do a trade. And then you get into doing a trade, and I've done it. I've been there, I've done it. You trade every 2 weeks or something like that, but then somebody's sick or somebody can't make it. Now you can't
No.
remember, somebody owes somebody 2 or 3. And I made a whole video about this on YouTube if you want to go check it out. But it talks about, I call it the massage league, not a massage trade. And so what happens is you could get as many people as you want into your massage league, almost like a pool of people, and everyone puts in money, so there's money involved. And if you don't make your assigned appointment, you forfeit that money. So I mean, it encourages people to play by the rules, and it puts that money there so that there's no strings. Everything is fair and square. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm getting off
Oh,
topic
that's
there.
okay. That's okay. We're allowed to because it's our show,
It
Ben.
is our show, and we don't answer to anyone but us.
That's right. No, I think this is good because I mean it takes us, yeah, we have to go in this direction a little bit. Yeah, yeah, I have a young massage therapist that comes and sees me. She pays me, right? And
Yeah,
she's never asked me to barter with her, but she tells me that very story that she barters with this other therapist and the therapist cancels on her all the time. And I'm like, no, thank you. Like I'm just not into it at
yeah,
all. If I want a session, I want to pay you. One of my longtime favorite chiropractors in the area, he asked me a long time ago, can we just barter? I said, no, dude, I just want to pay you and you could pay me. End of story.
yeah. Because paying it ends up evening out anyway. So at one point, I was trading with somebody, and I put the money in an envelope, and I said, there's $100 in here. I'm gonna give you this envelope. When you come see me, you can give that envelope right back to me.
That's
But if
awesome.
you don't, you can open the envelope and take the money, whatever.
Love it. That's a good idea. That's actually a great idea. So gifts, right? So what's the coolest gift that stands out in your mind that you've gotten?
Oh man, I mean, a lot of times it's just around Christmas I get, the monetary gifts. I can't think of anything besides that laundry detergent that really stood out to me. How about you?
Yeah,
What kind of cool gifts have you received from people?
it's those goofy gifts that stand out. Again, man, so many. I have this one client. She just brings me like right the classic homemade cookies every year, but I look forward to it. It's like a thing, it's like the once a year. I had a client have a had a hand because bass player
Yeah,
had a hand carved, wood carved model of a bass with my business name and the year I opened on it. That was like
that's cool.
for touching. Snacks have been cool, like a little bag of snacks, just like, dude, it doesn't have to, cost you $1. And it was like that went so far with me. But even though it was a monetary gift, so I don't accept tips in my practice. I don't want tips. I don't want people to tip me. I just want them to, you know, come and be able to have a reason to see me, whatever that reason is. But anyway, and one day this was so unexpected. This was last March, and I was getting ready to get on the road and go teach out in Rhode Island. It was my last client of the day. And she said, "Oh, Nate, I wanted to give you something." Right. And she goes, I never felt like I thanked you for helping me with this low back pain. So she had this low back pain forever and she wasn't getting any help. And, we just knocked it out of the park, which was cool. She handed me a wad of cash. And I didn't look at it, I didn't count it. She just put it down on the counter. And I was like, and I'm thinking, again, in my head, I'm like, that's sweet. It's $20, $40, $60, whatever. and it didn't, it didn't matter. So she left and I counted it. It was $400.
Holy cow.
And I was like, I literally sat there and I was like, I had to leave and I just sat there and I was like, WTF? I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's not a mistake when
That's not a
she
mistake.
purposely, yeah.
And I didn't know if I should run out and be like, "Hey, I think I almost did. I almost ran out and I was like, "Oh my God, I think you screwed up here." And I just sat there, man, and listen, the hardest stone, Nate Faye, I got a little like, I don't know, I think someone cut an onion for a minute there. I got a little like emotional about it. It was like weird. And I was like, holy shnikes. Because we're still a G-rated show, right?
I think so.
I think so. But it was like pretty amazing. And it wasn't the like, right, money's cool, money's amazing, can be amazing, but it wasn't it was not only the amount that struck me as just being like, holy crap, but I think it was more whether it was the 79-cent snack or the $400 cash or the homemade cookies. Gifts like that kind of, or gifts of any sort, make you realize that I think we, no pun intended, touch people's lives more than we probably realize, because we're in it. We're in our profession. We're doing this all day. We're doing what we're trained to do. We're doing what we love to do. And I think we kind of lose sight about how much we've impacted somebody's life when they leave our office. We don't know that they go home and maybe tell their whoever's going to listen to them how much better they feel. You know, I like hearing stuff like, oh, my husband or my wife or my mom tells me like, oh, I move so much better, right? Like all that stuff's cool, but to impact them that much where once a year or twice a year they drop like something like that on you, I think it's like pretty amazing.
It makes me think, hearing that from you, I want to throw out this question. How much is too much? How much is too much when accepting gifts? I mean, you know, you're in that situation, so you know that client, that customer, so you can say yes. I know she appreciated it, so this
Yeah,
is a lot, but I'm going to accept it. But at what point do you draw the line? And that kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you remember this TV station called Spike TV.
sure. Of course I
It was
do.
like geared toward guys,
Yeah,
right? This guy sort of a network. And I remember watching this. This was like 20 years ago when I was a newer massage therapist, and they had this show on how to do things. And one of them was, how do you get, I don't know how to word it, how do you get extra stuff from a massage therapist? And I was watching this and I was furious about it, but they talked about paying extra, giving your massage therapist extra, and then dropping hints and doing all this stuff to try to just be inappropriate and get, basically get prostitution from the massage therapist. So then, that just kind of plays into how much is too much. And my friend Eric Stevenson, he talks about this example. He's heard of someone who she works on this guy every week, and he tips her $100 every week, and she's a single mother, so $100, $400 a month goes a long way. But
sure.
after he tips her, he has to kiss her on the lips. That's like the and I know I'm getting into weird territory here,
Okay,
but
we'll get into it.
yeah, that's the unspoken agreement is, I tip you this, but you're going to let me kiss you on the lips, whatever it is, a peck. I don't know. I don't know the exact details, but so it gets into how much is too much.
Yeah. That's too much, man. Because then when do you like end that? I mean, if every week she came in and gave me $400, I'd be like, after a couple, probably after once, like if she did that, I don't even know what the limitation would be. I mean, ah, yeah, it
Yeah, and
probably
how do
would.
you know to recognize, okay, she gave me $400 and then a month later she gives you another $400. but she's not necessarily trying to get anything from you. She's just
Right.
expressing
Just generous.
appreciation. So
Right. And
how do you determine what's enough, what's too much?
yeah. And again, only speaking for me, it's never been, all the amazing gifts I've received have never been nothing more than like just pure appreciation and sort of back to what I spoke about earlier, man, like just impacting how we impact people's lives. Right. But then in the scenario that you're talking about, the weekly gift of and then expecting something in return. Yeah, that's rough. That's pretty rough territory. That's
Yeah,
that's
and those are
gift
ethical
crossing.
ethical dilemmas we get thrown into, and I don't know that there's a right or wrong way to deal with it, but sometimes things happen. You're like, "Oh my gosh, an extra $100." Oh, and he
Right.
just kissed me on the lips. That's weird, but okay. See you next week. Oh, he did it
Right.
again. Now you've set the expectation, and it just goes into weird country. And how do you stop that? Because your kid needs to eat. And yeah,
Yeah.
that could
And
be
hey,
a whole nother, spin-off
I
podcast right there.
think that's going to be a spin-off one, but yeah, well, I think at the end of the day, gifts are wonderful, but they certainly, you know, they can get into I like that weird country. But a lot of our awesome listeners, nobody got into that. Everybody was sort of across the board appreciative of getting gifts. So
Yeah,
we got
run
like a
through
lot of
some
great
of those for me,
responses.
Nate. Tell me what some of our listeners had to say, or
Yeah.
summarize some of the things that they had to say.
I'm gonna do a bunch of quick summaries here, okay?
Yeah,
So I like this one. It was like right off the bat, but Brian, local Connecticut massage therapist, says only one time in 8 years has he gotten anything, but he got a piece of artwork from a local artist. Smart move on the artist part, on the artist piece, right? Local
fantastic.
artist,
I love it.
right? You know where that piece of art's going to go. I mean, I've gotten beautiful photographs before, and if they've struck me enough, they've gotten framed and hung up on my wall,
Heck yeah.
right? And he certainly goes on to say that, hey, she left a small nugget of her work, which is going to be scattered all over the place. Totally, he goes on to say, totally harmless, right? And other people just went on to say, like, getting gifts, right? Nothing wrong with it. Most of it takes place over holidays. People feel good about giving. This one, Dave talked about circumstances, right? Someone gave him a jar jelly that a friend makes local, right? So another perhaps smart move on another entrepreneur's part. I like this tickets to an IndyCar race. That sounds pretty cool. But trust and intentions, right? And that's a mutual standard for any client therapist relationship. So yeah, a lot of people go on to say things like that. People have gotten books, note cards, again, photos, edibles, right? Artistic photos. But again, everybody across the board talks about that as signs of appreciation. Oh, by the way, so we just had that whole conversation about that monetary gift that I got. And here we go. I know someone who accepted $1,000 Christmas tip,
Wow.
which which led to big trouble when the client wanted special treatment. So that was in one of our comments. There you go.
There it is. I mean, it
There
happens.
it
Somebody
was.
must have been watching
Gonna happen.
Spike TV, which I mean, they don't exist anymore, but I remember being appalled when I saw that.
That's pretty rough. I love this one. This would have been a good gift. Tickets to go see the band The Scorpions.
Ah,
Heck yeah. That would have been right up my alley. But yeah, here's a thoughtful one. I think I'm gonna pick this one as my favorite one. Okay. This
yeah,
comes from Irina. I think this is gonna go to my favorite one here. So appreciate when I'm gonna read her whole thing because
sure.
when we have a favorite, we read the whole thing.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I appreciate when my clients make gestures from the heart, right? She looks at this as an energy exchange, a beautiful post that's in my studio, a picture, a drawn picture that's in her space, a handmade candle, a clay bowl, collected and crafted sage. It's precious and meaningful. She's so grateful for these gestures. She made a choice to run her business tip free, much like I did, right? I have a set rate, so does she, that she's comfortable with no tips. So when clients intend to leave a tip, she feels like that's an appreciated gift or an appreciated intent. So there you go. I wanted the same for her, and she says I wanted the same for me, and it goes very smoothly, easy for everybody. I like
It,
that.
it is great to know when you are doing work such as a massage therapist that we're appreciated, and that could be something as simple as a handshake, hugs.
Oh,
Do you get
hug.
how often do you get hugs?
I have a handful of clients that that's their thank you language at their end of the session. I have a woman, she comes to see me. She's in her 70s. She's total sweetheart. I think I'm obviously doing something for her. And at the end of the session, she always gives me a big hug and she says, I love you, baby. And I'm like, love you too, baby. And that's very like platonic. There's nothing
Yeah.
more than that, right?
When the intent is pure
Totally.
versus when it's, ill intended, hugs and that kind of thing.
Right. How about I'm looking at one comment now, right? We get gifts that might be a little like they're still gifts, right? We've all gotten right, like the pink bunny pajamas, right? Christmas story, you got the pink bunny pajamas. It's like, oh my God, you know, what's the so this that made me think, what's the goofiest gift that you ever got? And then goofy, like, oh man, like I gotta kind of smile and say thank you.
Well, this just happened recently. Remember we did a podcast a while back on massage competitions?
Yes.
Well, I talked to some of my clients about, I talked to some of my clients about our podcast and I told them, about the topics we talk about. Well, the next time she came in, she brought in a medal, like, a first place medal. And she said, I think you should have this medal for first place.
I love it.
Just goofy, corny.
That is goofy. How about something that was like more along the line of the pink bunny pajamas
I don't know
that
that I have
you just
any
kind of
of
had to
those.
smile and be like, "Oh, thank you."
I can't think of any, but what about you? What kind of pink bunny pajamas have you gotten?
Funny thing is, I actually know a bunch of I have clients that listen to our podcast, right? And they tell
Nice.
me that they listen to us. And so I have a feeling I'm actually going to get pink bunny pajamas now
Perfect.
after listening to this. Let's see. Have I ever gotten anything that made me like, huh? I don't think I have. I mean, again, like even like the little snack gifts I get are like awesome. They're
Yeah.
all awesome in some form.
Well, you put out your vibe. The
Oh,
people
thank you.
that come see you, you have a certain vibe and people recognize that and I think you attract a certain type of person. So I think if they did give you something that someone else would consider goofy or weird, you probably wouldn't think it was weird.
Yeah,
Like
probably not.
I got a t-shirt not that long ago from a client of mine. It's from the show Supernatural. Are you familiar with that show?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, so it's kind of one of those cult shows and I don't know why I brought it up to her, but I was like, I watched this really goofy show and it's called Supernatural. She's like, I love that show. I'm like, no way. So we kind of bonded over that.
Cool.
So she got me this cool
Oh, that's
shirt.
fun. It's all fun. I love that stuff.
Well, so let's kind of recap and talk about accepting gifts from clients. And I think what I want to throw out there is there's not really a right or wrong, right? Everyone
Oh,
has different ideas of what's ethically and morally right. And how can I say what some things might be ethically and morally right for me may not be ethically and morally right for someone else? Because who am I to judge what other people do as long as you're not hurting anybody, right?
beautiful thing about this show, Ben, is we're taking our lifetime of experience and we're letting people take whatever nuggets they want. But these aren't the Ten Commandments here,
I
right?
love it.
Nobody even people don't even follow those anymore either. That's a whole different story.
That's a whole different podcast.
Sorry about that. I got crazy for a minute.
Well, yeah, so there's no right or wrong. You guys, we get to rap about this topic, and you guys get to pick what you like and discard what you don't like. So what are the big takeaways? What are the things that you liked about what we talked about today, Nate?
Well, I think all around, right? Massage therapists. We love gifts. No, no, there's more than that. I think at the end of the day, everybody that responded, our continued conversation about right, it's appreciation, and it's realizing that we've impacted people more than we probably realize we do. And at the end of the day, just make sure that these gifts are accepted with good intentions and nothing more, nothing less. And if it's somebody keeps giving you gifts, let's hope there's nothing more behind that, right? And don't mix business with business.
That's a good statement there.
Yeah. What about you, buddy? What was your big takeaway tonight?
Oh man, we talked about so much stuff, and it's hard, It's like I said, everybody's going to do this differently, but we looked at the value of the gift, the frequency of the gifts, the intent behind the gifts. And then that may cause somebody, we talked about this in our last episode, was creating policies. So some people already have a policy in place. I don't accept gifts. I don't accept tips. I don't do this. So some of you may have already, may have gotten a flaming bag of poo in your front porch or something like that, and you just decide, I'm not going to do that anymore. So I think those are some of my big takeaways are, defining what a gift is, and just deciding what's comfortable for you.
Mm, I dig it.
Cool. I think that's episode 24. What do you think?
Oh, well, episode 24 just ended with our my two dogs about some, once in a while, they're like big brother, little brother. Anyway, this was episode 24. Hey, check this out, Ben. When we meet for episode 25, I think we're going to talk about imposter syndrome when we meet next time. There's the possibility that we may or may not rename our show.
We're still
We
looking
had
at that.
we,
There's a secret board meeting that has to happen, and we may do that.
yeah, we might do that. I think two dudes and a microphone's probably crossing the line with our good friends up north. So we probably can't call it that.
We got a lot of good possibilities, and I think
We have a lot of great possibilities.
yeah, we're gonna have that board of directors meeting and see how that goes. So episode 24, 25 is coming up, but tell us again where people can find us, and if they want to share our podcast with other people, talk to me a little bit about what we do and why we do it.
Well, you can listen to us on Spotify in your car on the way to your office, or perhaps in your car on your way to a continuing education class that Ben Stone will be appearing at, or myself. It's pretty awesome. You can check us out on Spotify. If you're under the age of 40, you're probably listening to using Spotify, so you can check us out there. Of course, if you want to watch us, you could watch us on YouTube. But most importantly, we want you to find us on Facebook, Ben and Nate's Questions That We Ask People on the Internet. Look for these questions that get posted, comment below so that we can keep the show going. Our show depends on your responses.
I mean, we still don't answer to anybody, but we still depend on your answers.
That's
We
right.
depend on your feedback and interaction with us because we love it.
And listen, if you love us, if you love our show, send us a gift.
Yeah. Why would you not send us a gift? And that gift could be something simple as, hey, I love your show. I listen to your show. Or you could send us you know, a handwritten letter. I would love to get a handwritten letter. That would be so cool.
That would be cool. Nobody does that anymore. Like
No.
fan mail, like actual fan mail.
Yeah.
I
I used
dig
to
it.
write fan mail. I used to send out baseball cards to get them signed by players, and I would have to write it out and send it in the mail.
What was your success with getting those back?
100%.
Yeah, I used to do that as a kid too. I would send, I would write to different bands, that was on the back of the tape cassette, which was probably their management company or record label. Will you please send me an autographed picture? 100% of the time I would get something back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody does that anymore. Who does that? You can just go to the internet and get all that stuff now.
Nate and Ben will do it.
Nate and Ben will do it. I'll send you an
They'll
autographed
do it.
picture. We could go on forever like this. I want to thank everybody for watching. Nate, take us out.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to episode 24 of Ben and Nate's Questions that we ask people on the internet. And we'll see y'all next time. Have a good week.